Hello and welcome your faces back to the second part of my Photoshop tutorial. And yes, I was taking the mick out of Tom there. Sorry, Tom. I like the way you do that on your videos. It's awesome. Right, okay. Where we left off, I had done a little bit of drawing on this young lady here. That's where we're. I've done a little bit of tweaking to the eyes because I was hating the eyes. So whilst you were away, I've just tweaked those a little bit. I've actually cloned one of the eyes, if you can see. That's just basically kind of a, this is a clone. You can sort of see the clues there, but anyway, just a little bit. So I'm not going to do an awful lot. Whoa, what the heck? I'm not going to do an awful lot more on the sketching for this, because really I'm aiming to dive in and do some painting on this bad boy, or bad girl. Are you a bad girl? I think you're a bad girl. Yes, you're a bad girl and you know it, don't you? Anyway, calm down. Right, what I'm going to do is do a little bit of shading. So I'm going back to my paint tool. I'm going to create a new layer. In fact, I'm just going to merge that down. Right, create a new layer. And I'm going to call this shading. This isn't going to be an outright getting everything done super duper shade. All I really want to do is lay down where the light and the shadows are roughly, so that when I come to do the painting it's going to help me out quite a bit. So I'm going to go in and select an airbrushy type tool, making it a little bit bigger than we were before. Let's just check the size on that. Too small, much too small. Needs to be a lot bigger than that. Bigger still. Biggest, no, about there. I think it's about there. That'll do. That'll do. And we'll knock that opacity down quite a bit. I'm going to stick with the black, and all I'm really going to start to do now is think about less opacity still. Right. Think about where shadow is going to be. Now, when you do a piece of work like this, it's a good idea to have a rough idea where the light's coming from. It's a portrait, so traditionally light tends to come from the front of the picture, so as you look at the picture the light's behind you kind of, and possibly off to one side. So I think, if I just do it quickly, my light is going to be going sort of like this. Whoosh. So the shadows are going to tend to be more on this side than on that side. Okay? Right, so let's go in and start to do some. Whilst I'm working, I was trying to think, right, okay, how can I entertain my viewers whilst I'm painting away? Well, I plan to do some talking about sort of things, some of the things that Photoshop can do. But I know probably one of the reasons why you're here is through my Twitter or through possibly other YouTubes that I've done. Something like that. Maybe you see me hanging around in the chat rooms on Twitch when watching one of Tom's videos. So yeah, I am a computer science teacher. I've been here at High Clarendon Sixth Form College for an awfully long time now. I think I started in 2000, January 2000. So whenever you're watching this video, add that number of years to it. So if it's 2015, it'll be 15 years. So it's 14 years at the time that I'm recording this video. I've been here about 14 years. So, quite a while. And I've been pretty much working in education for an awfully long time now. I did have a brief but illustrious career in Her Majesty's Royal Air Force. Not as a pilot, was not a Top Gun, no Tom Cruise or anything like that. Stay with me, goose! No, I was just in training to be a technician, flight technician. That didn't pan out too well. Various things happened, and suffice it to say that me and the Air Force parted ways, after which time I don't know, didn't really know what to do with myself. Always wanted to go into the Air Force, always thought that's what I wanted to do. Nothing wrong with it as a career. I would recommend it to anybody who's thinking about, you know, not quite sure what they want to do in the future. They're interested in techie type things, you know, technical stuff. There are certainly worse careers you can have than going into the armed services, especially the Air Force, because no offence to the Army and the Navy, but the Air Force is kind of for the more technical, I wouldn't say brighter people, because that's really insulting to the other armed services, and there's a lot of extremely clever people in the other armed services, but traditionally the more maybe scientific minded people might lean slightly more towards the Air Force. It's a very good career. Actually, that was wrong. Just take those away. And I did enjoy it. I did enjoy my time in there. It just wasn't for me in the end, and I probably went into it for completely the wrong reasons. So I didn't know what to do with myself when I came out. I kind of fell into working in education. A technician's job came up at Stockport College, and I thought, oh, I can do that. I'm quite good with computers and that sort of thing. Always used computers since they sort of first emerged as a tool that you could have at home. I had a ZX81, ZX80, VIC-20, Commodore 64, Commodore Amiga, Atari ST, Atari Amstrad CPC 464. Oh my god, the list goes on and on and on. Probably my favourite computer over the years was possibly the Commodore Amiga. It was a very, very cool computer, and I really learned to program on that. Although I did do A-level computing at college, I actually did it here when it was Hyde Grammar School for boys and then Hyde Sixth Form College. I actually did one. I was one of the first students ever, pretty much, to take A-level computing as a subject, and really enjoyed it. So I saw a job as a technician at Stockport College and thought, yep, I'm good with computers, I'll have a go at that. And that's what I did. I did a little bit of technicianing there. I was there for an awfully long time, far too long really. Right, what I'm doing here, sorry, I should be explaining what I'm doing, is I just want to do some smudging now, because that stuff there is a bit scruffy. So I'm just sort of going to smudge that in. Oh, that's even worse. That's horrible. Let's just try and tidy that up something better. You know what? There comes a point where you think, nope, that's not working. Let's just take that back and get rid of that, because that's awful. Absolutely awful. Oh, go away. It's all gone horribly wrong. Help. Right, let's just clear that. Now, here is where working on layers really comes into its own. See, I created a new layer for the shading, and now, because my lines are on a different layer, it has absolutely no effect on the other layers when I rub out. So let's just go and do this a little bit more neatly this time. That's better. That's better. And again, I'm not worried too much if it's not perfect. I'm just going for a rough sort of look, but I've got to have a minimum standard, and that was really shocking. Right, okay, something like that. So, as you can see, I'm really emphasising the shading on these eyes in a sort of Tim Burton-esque, gothic kind of way. Quite a lot of shading on this side. There'll be a little bit of, there'll be some shading on the nose there, around that little corner, and down that neck. There we go. Go a little bit bigger, a little bit fainter, and I just want to wrap in some there. Just get some tones in. A little bit more on the cleavage. Oh, the gentlemen who are watching now, please calm down. You never know, maybe some of the ladies too. Please calm down. It's just a little video. I would love to say this was modelled on somebody and I could give you her phone number, but no, it's just made up out of my head. Well, actually, it's not made up out of my head. I'm pretty sure at some point along the line I've seen a picture like this somewhere else. So there's probably somewhere that's screaming at me going, that's like mine! That should be copyrighted, I'm going to sue you ass! Well, okay. As you can see though from this video, I've pretty much done this from scratch, so if it is like yours, I truly apologise. I see so many pictures and watch so many videos, and I'm always drawing that sometimes stuff is just going to leak out that I've seen before. It's not intentional. I do apologise if that's the case. Please don't sue me. I'm only paid what a teacher is paid, and that's not very much. Okay? Please. I have children. Okay. So I've got some rough ideas of the shading. Just a smidge up there. Okay. That looks okay. Let's just take a step back. Yeah, that's coming on okay. What I now want to do now, because these eyes are still looking kind of weird, is she's actually is going to have irises, so we're painting the irises. Oh, I'd give up forever to touch you, 'cause you know that you feel it somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I've ever been. Oh my god, you say things like an angel. Actually, I really don't. But one thing you'll have to get used to if you end up watching any of these videos of mine, I like to sing. And I don't sing that well, so I'm sorry. There we go. Right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the first time I've actually changed the pen colour. I'm going to change it to white, just because I want to indicate to myself where the highlights on these eyes are going to be. So there we go, some shading. Now I'm actually going to go to the background layer, add a new layer in. You know, you probably can't see this again because of my awful face for staring at you, but there, new layer, blam, back, shading. Whoa, I've gone into caps, don't know why. There we go. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to slap on, get a couple of paint brushes, don't really mind what size, that's pretty cool. Let's go into greys. And I'm just going to slap on some paint. I just want to get an idea of how I'm going to put some tone on the background of this. It's going to lag like mad because I'm recording. I apologise. I probably shouldn't be using the fan brush, but I want a bit of texture in there, so I'm just going to do some of that. Darker in some places than others. That's what I might do. Just to help this along and stop it lagging quite so much, I'm going to get a gradient tool. I'm going to select black and white, and I'm going to change these colours a little bit. So we'll go down to about there-ish. I could actually put my colours in now. I'm going to go for sort of a red, black, purple. So for the background, I don't want it to. I want elements of all of those colours really. So what I'm going to do is I'll pick up sort of a nice, rich, but very dark purple, and I'm going to take maybe a little. I want a contrasting colour, so I might actually go into green or blue, somewhere around there. Something like that, and we'll just blap that in there. That's probably a bit strong to say the least. Should I leave that? Yeah, we'll go for that. Now this black shading, now you can see I haven't used black. Big mistake! So, what I'll do is just on that layer, I'll adjust the brightness and I'll turn that right down. The contrast, there we go. So now it's going into almost pure black. And I'll bring the opacity down a little bit so it's not quite so strong. There we go. That's better. and then I'm going to apply filter. I'm going to blur this. I'm going to use Gaussian blur, which smudges it up real nice. Let's see that start to work now. I'll go boom. Okay, so picture with shading. That's looking pretty good. Yes, I like that. I'll just zoom in. So now we're getting somewhere. We've got a nice little colour background. We can see where things are going to go. That's not far off being ready to actually start to paint. Okay, so what I might do, no idea how long I've been recording, and the problem with, okay, so I've been going about 15 minutes. I'm tempted to actually leave it there, because if I go too much further, I'm going to have to actually start painting. What I might do is I might just bang in another layer, and I might just do some texturing with some brushes. So let's go to the paintbrush. Let's grab something interesting like this sort of grungy spongy thing, and yeah, that's a bad grungy sponge because that's got a white colour attached to it by default. There we go. So I might just start to blap in a bit more texture. Whoops, too big. Yeah, the problem with Photoshop sometimes is the brush sizes go from small, medium, huge! Huge! So that just jumped up to a 3000 pixel brush, which was obviously far too much. And I might just start to pick out some little bits of colour that I'm going to want in here. I'm going to want some deep red at some point. So I'm going to pull in just a few splodges. Can you see that? I don't know whether you'll be able to see this on the video. I'm dropping in a few splodges of red. There, in here, and here, and there. And we're going to pick up some of those purple tones. So something like that. And it's going to be really faint. I mean, barely there. I just want a few little notes of that colour drifting through. And, you know, this is really saying to me, chuck some green in there. So, I'm going to listen to your little voice in my head. Hello there, little voice. How are you today? Give me some advice there. Maybe say, you know, maybe put some green in there. Maybe. My Stewie voice needs work. One of the things my students probably, I don't know, they probably think I'm absolutely insane. But when I teach my lessons, I do tend to use a lot of voices. You know, and sometimes, you know, I'm just like teaching a lesson and I'll just drift off into a voice. I don't know really why I do it. It's just something I've always done. And a lot of my students sometimes say, you know, you're a lot like Tom. And I honestly, I mean, as far as I know, I've always been like this, and I don't think Tom copies off me, and I don't think I particularly copied off Tom. I just think we think in similar ways in some respects, and maybe, you know, we're both a little bit of a joker. You know, we like a little bit of a shenanigan. Let's get up to a little bit of mischief. There we go. So I just put in some little notes of that colour, those colours in there. I actually think the other one I'm probably going to want in there at some point is some nice sort of blue. Blue, a greyish blue, tends to bring the whole thing down and make backgrounds a little less vivid if they're going a bit too strong, and I'm slightly worried about this purple. It's just going to be too much once I've got the purple highlights in the hair, so we'll go for something like that. So there we go, stage 2. So we've taken those lines, we've added some shading in, we've put some background in. Those highlights in the eyes look kind of freaky, but don't worry about that for now. I've got a number of layers. What I'm actually going to do, let me just sort of come up here so you can see this better. These are the layers I've currently got. I want to leave the lines for sure and the shading for sure, but I'm actually going to join those together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge, if I can figure out how to right click, there we go. So I'm going to do, whoa, shading, right click, merge down, so that's now blended with the lines, and I'm going to change the property of this layer. See where it says normal here? I'm going to change that to multiply. What that means is whatever happens underneath, those black lines are going to show through for now. The black lines will always be there, and that's just quite a nice way of keeping tabs on my initial sketch. At some point I'll be able to take that away and you'll just see the painting, or maybe I'll blend them in some way, something like that, but for now they can be there. There's my original sketching. That layer can now be binned. Boof! Off you go! Bye! Because that's no longer relevant, and I can merge this layer down, my little texturing layer, and merge that down. I'm not going to blend it into the background, I just want to keep that background, the nice gradient. There you can see what a mess I've made of it without the background. There you go. So I've got my lines, I've got my shading, I've got a random layer here, which I have no idea why I've got that, so I'm going to get rid of that. Bam. So I've got my back shading, my background, and my lines. That's clean, that's ready to go. There'll be a new layer there, which I'm going to call the painting layer, or the underpainting. And that's going to be ready for next time. What the heck? Underpainting. And why am I in capitals again? There we go. So, all done. Part 2 complete. Just take that brush back down to where I was when I left, because I don't want to suddenly dive in there with a crazy brush. And we shall leave it there. So, what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? How is it coming along? If you like watching these tutorials, let me know. You can click subscribe. Subscribe. You can just leave a like. You can leave a comment. Don't be nasty. I'm just going to delete the nasty ones, okay? But if you've got honest criticism, if there's anything you'd like me to improve, just drop a line. I'm slightly limited by hardware in terms of what I can do, you know, but the frame rate might not be particularly good. If I get better kit, I'll make better videos. That's all I can really say. So for now, I shall bid you good day. Adios. See you later. Have fun.